Everyone tells you to fight for what you want. Work harder, say the right thing. Don't give up. But there is a kind of man who can look at something he genuinely wants, something real, something he could have, and walk away from it anyway. Not because he stopped caring, not because he found something better, but because something inside him wouldn't let him stay. And if you've ever done that, if you've ever left a table you still wanted to sit at, what I'm about to show you isn't advice. It's an explanation for something you already know is true. Picture this. You're in something good. Maybe it's a relationship. Maybe it's a situation with real potential. She's not terrible. The connection is real, but something is quietly, consistently off. A boundary you set keeps getting tested. A standard you hold keeps getting dismissed. A pattern keeps repeating, no matter how clearly you name it. And you realize you could stay. You could stay and manage it. You could stay and work around it. You could stay and slowly become someone who tolerates things he said he never would. Here's what no one explains about that moment. The man who stays when he shouldn't is not loyal. He is afraid of what leaving says about him. Afraid that wanting something and not having it makes him less. But the man who walks away from what he still wants, that man has discovered something most men never find. And here's where this gets dangerous, because once you understand the psychology behind it, you cannot unsee it. Point 1, he has separated his worth from the outcome. Most men have a quiet, invisible equation running in the background. If she chooses me, I am enough. If she doesn't, I am not. If this works out, I am a man who gets what he wants. If it falls apart, I am a man who loses. That equation is the trap, because it ties his identity to the result. And when your identity is tied to the result, you will do almost anything to control the result. You'll shrink your standards. You'll ignore red flags. You'll tolerate what you said you never would, because the alternative isn't losing her. The man who walks away has broken this equation. He has decided, quietly, firmly, without announcement, that who he is does not depend on whether this particular thing works out. That is not indifference. That is the foundation of every other strength he has. But there's a second layer, and it cuts even deeper. Point 2. He understands what staying would actually cost him. Ask yourself this honestly. When you have stayed somewhere you shouldn't have, what did it cost you? Not in the obvious ways. Not the time. Not the energy. What did it cost you in here? Because here is what most men miss completely. Every time you stay past the point of your own standard, you send yourself a message. And that message is, my peace is negotiable. My values are flexible. What I said I stood for can be adjusted if the thing I want is on the other side of the adjustment. You think you're being patient. You think you're being mature. But your character is watching everything you do, and it takes notes. Dr. Brené Brown's research at the University of Houston found that a loss of integrity, even privately, even quietly, erodes a man's sense of self-worth over time. Not because anyone is judging him, but because he is. The man who walks away from what he still wants is not just protecting his peace. He is protecting his self-concept, the internal evidence that he is who he says he is. Now, here's where it flips entirely. Point 3. Genuine willingness to walk away is not performance. It is power. Let me show you what this looks like in real life. There are two men in the same situation. Both of them say they have standards. Both of them say they won't be disrespected. Both of them have drawn a line. But when the line gets crossed, one of them explains why it matters, reminds her of what he said, gives another chance, then another, and the other one simply goes, not with anger, not with a speech, with the quiet, settled energy of a man whose actions have always matched his words. Here's what no one is telling you. She cannot feel your standards. She can only feel whether you will enforce them. Research published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology consistently shows that genuine confidence, the kind rooted in behavioral consistency, not performance, is one of the most significant predictors of perceived attraction and respect. The man who will genuinely walk away carries something in his presence that cannot be faked, and she feels it before he says a word. But none of this is the deepest part. The deepest part is what it does to him, not to her. Point 4. The payoff. Walking away is an act of self-respect disguised as loss. Here is the reversal that almost nobody prepares you for. When a man walks away from something he still wants, the world reads it as loss. He looks like he failed. He looks like he gave up. He looks like he couldn't make it work. But this is the code. He didn't walk away because he stopped caring. He walked away because caring wasn't enough to make it right. And that distinction, that single quiet distinction, is the difference between a man who is governed by his emotions and a man who is governed by his character. Viktor Frankl wrote that the last of the human freedoms is the ability to choose your response to any given set of circumstances. Not to control what happens, but to choose who you are in response to what happens. Walking away from something you still want is an exercise of that freedom. It says, I am not at the mercy of my longing. I am not hostage to what I want. I decide what I am willing to become, and I will not become less than myself. To hold on to something that keeps asking me to, that is not giving up. That is the clearest definition of strength that holds weight in a world where everyone is looking for validation. That man chooses the harder route because it leads to success, and a man grounded in values who has purpose. I want to speak directly to you right now. If you have walked away from something you still wanted, and it still sits with you, that weight you're carrying is not weakness. It is the proof that you felt something real. But here's what I need you to understand. The loss is real, and the decision was still right. Both of those things can be true at the same time. A man of honor does not walk away and feel nothing. He walks away and feels everything, and holds his ground anyway. That is emotional steadiness. Not the absence of feeling, the presence of something stronger than the feeling. When you stop performing for approval, when you stop staying past the point of your own standard, you will discover something. The things worth having start coming to you differently. Not because you played a better game, because you became a man who no longer needs to play one. Most men will watch this and never apply it. They'll agree in the comments and go right back to staying somewhere they shouldn't. But not you. If you've ever walked away from something you still wanted, and you do it again, drop a comment right now. I hold my standard. Let the men in this community see who is actually doing the work. Subscribe if you're building something real from the inside out. And if you know a brother who is staying somewhere he shouldn't, send him this. Today, not tomorrow. The real prize was never her decision. It was the man you became when you stopped making her decision yours. Stay strong, stay grounded, keep building. I'll see you in the next one.